All right, guys, last video of the week, and we are going to level it up just a little bit more. So, if you notice, I have two equations again. And in my equations, I have an x and a y in both. All right, but this time, they're both not equal to y. So here's what we do in this case. So I'm going to take this top equation. And write it in. And now I'm going to write it again, but instead of y, I'm going to put a big parenthesis, and everything else stays the same. Now, instead of this y, I changed it to a parenthesis because I'm going to put in my second equation because this was equal to y. So that means I can replace or substitute the 5x minus 2 here. So that way I have a new equation, and my new equation just has x's in it. All right, let's try that again for example 2. So I'm going to take my top equation, and I'm going to rewrite it. And when I rewrite it, instead of y, I'm going to put parentheses. Everything else stays the same. And in those parentheses, I'm going to put my second equation. All right, so now I have two new big equations with just x in it. Check. All right, so now how do I solve? When I solve and I see parentheses, I need to take care of that first. So I need to take care of my distributive property. So, how am I going to do this? Let's write it. Let's write our new equation underneath. So I am negative 3 goes with 5x. And I am negative 3 goes with my negative 2. Now this is getting a little sloppy. You know what? Let's write it over here. All right, recap. Okay, so we are solving. So when I solve, I do my parentheses first. Negative 3 goes with 5x. And negative 3 goes with negative 2. I simplify. And I can't forget about those other numbers. So I bring it down. All right, so this is my new equation that I'm going to put up here. Negative 3x minus 15x plus 6 equals negative 12. All right. So here's my letters and my numbers. All right, so for my letters, I have negative 3x, negative 15x. I did not cross the line, so the signs stay the same. And for numbers, I have negative 12. And then on the other side, I have positive 6, but we got to change that to a negative. All right, after I do that step, I'm going to go ahead and simplify both sides using my calculator. And I get negative 18 on both sides. Coincidence. And last step, we divide. So I get x equals 1. All right, so those were a lot of steps. Let's try it again with example number 2. So the first thing we did was distribute. 4 goes with 6x. And 4 goes with negative 24. And once I do that, I simplify using my calculator. Remember, parentheses mean multiply. So that gets me 24x. And 4 times 24, I definitely need a calculator for that one. That's 96. Can't forget about my randoms. I bring down my negative 20. And I bring down my negative 5x. Alright, so I'm just going to highlight my equal sign so that I don't forget that this is my line, since I'm not really lined up. Alright, so I have my letters and numbers. So for letters, I have negative 5x and 24x. Then I have negative 96, but I need to change that one. And negative 20 stays. Alright, we simplify. So I get 19x and 76. Last step. X equals 4. Alright, so now I have x for both equations. But remember, if I just have x, that's not enough because our originals had x and y. So now I need to go back to an original. So in these problems, there was an original that was a little bit easier looking. And that's the one that already has y by itself. So for this step, I'm going to pick the easier equations. Alright, and what do? We plug in with parentheses. Everything else stays. Alright, now we solve for y in my calculator. 5 times 1 minus 2. That gives me 3. And on this side, I get 0. Alright, so now I have my 2 x's and my 2 y's, so I can go ahead and write my conclusion. The solution is x equals 1 and y equals 3 for example 1. Example 2, the solution is x equals 4 and y equals 0. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them at the end of this video. See you tomorrow.